The most competent person in your office just got passed over for a promotion. You know the one. They're the quiet engine of the department, the person who actually knows how the systems work, the one you go to when something is truly broken. The promotion went to someone who spends half their day building relationships and the other half presenting polished summaries of other people's work. By the end of this, you will understand the precise mechanics of why this happens every single time. And the reason is a structural feature of how organizations actually see. A feature you are almost certainly working against. Your entire career is being judged by an audience that can't see the stage. They only hear reports from the front row. And you've been spending all your energy on perfecting a performance for an empty theatre. The belief that competence is the primary driver of career advancement is a comforting fiction. It's the story we tell ourselves about meritocracy to make the daily grind feel fair. The reality is that organizations operate on a different, more primitive logic. They run on signals. Competence, the way you've been demonstrating it, is a very poor signal. It's too detailed, too complex, and too quiet. Visibility, on the other hand, is a signal that is loud, simple, and travels uphill with remarkable efficiency. Imagine you're a senior executive, 3 levels above a particular department. You oversee 200 people. You have 17 direct reports and a calendar that's a solid block of red. You simply lack the bandwidth to know who the best coder, or the best analyst, or the best project manager is in a literal technical sense. Your brain, by necessity, uses shortcuts. It operates on heuristics. You don't have time to read the source code. You have time to see who presents the results at the quarterly meeting. You don't have time to review every project plan. You have time to hear which name gets mentioned by your trusted lieutenants. This is the operating system of corporate life. It's a network of perception, and your actual work is just one tiny input. Your deep competence in your role creates a dangerous illusion. It feels like progress. You get better, faster, more efficient. You solve harder problems. You earn the respect of your peers. Your internal sense of mastery grows. But from the outside, from the perspective of the people who decide your future, this mastery creates a flat line. After a certain point, your increasing skill becomes invisible. You've gone from being the person who can solve the problem to being the person who always solves the problem. Your excellence becomes the expected baseline. It gets priced in, it becomes infrastructure, and nobody gives a promotion to a bridge for simply continuing to stand. The praise you get from your immediate boss confirms this bias. They love that you're reliable. You make their life easier. You are a stable pillar in their department. Promoting you would create a problem they don't want to solve, finding someone to replace the pillar. You have become too good to move, but this stability trap is only the first layer of the problem. What happens when your work is legible, but the credit for it is portable? A project succeeds, the team celebrates. A week later, a manager 3 levels up hears about it. What do they hear? They hear a simplified story. They hear that marketing solved the launch issue. They hear that Sarah's team delivered. The complexities, the late nights, the critical insight from the quiet person in the corner, all of that gets compressed and filtered out. The credit flows uphill, and as it does, it consolidates. It attaches itself to the most visible node in the network, which is almost always the person whose job it is to communicate, to present, to manage. They become the avatar for the group's success. This is a mechanical process. The person who summarizes the work gets a disproportionate amount of the credit for the work. Their visibility acts like a gravitational field, pulling the narrative toward them. You can do career-defining work, but if someone else is the designated storyteller, you are building their career. You are a ghostwriter for their success, so you might think the answer is to speak up more, to present your own work, to make sure your name is attached to the outcome. This is a start, but it often backfires. It can come across as aggressive, insecure, or a poor team player. This is because you're still thinking about visibility in terms of credit for past work. This is the fundamental mistake. Leaders are not promoting you based on your past performance. They are promoting you based on their perceived risk of your future performance. Your past work is only useful as a set of data points to help them predict the future. Your competence in your current role is a weak predictor of your competence in the next one. The skills that make a great analyst are different from the skills that make a great manager of analysts. Being the best at the technical work can actually signal that you are a specialist. someone who is most valuable right where they are. The person who gets promoted is the one who successfully de-risks the decision for the executive. They do this by demonstrating the skills for the next job, not by being perfect at their current one. And how do you demonstrate those skills? Through visible actions that mimic the next role. You volunteer to mentor the new hire. You put together an unsolicited proposal for a new workflow. You are the one who speaks to the cross-functional team and translates the technical details into business impact. These actions are highly visible signals. They are legible to leadership. They tell a story of ambition, strategic thinking, and leadership potential. The person who spends an extra 10 hours refining a report to be 100% perfect is signaling dedication to their current job. The person who spends those same 10 hours building a coalition to get their good enough report implemented is signaling readiness for the next job. One is a technician, the other is a leader in training. But even this is a game of proxies. What if there was a way for this perception to be built for you, automatically, without you having to be the one constantly raising your hand? There is. It's called network centrality. An organization is a flow of information. Some people are at the edge of the network, only talking to their immediate team. Others are bridges, connecting different groups. The people at these intersection points, the hubs, become visible by default. They know what the engineering team is struggling with and what the sales team is promising. They can identify opportunities and risks that no one else can see. They become valuable because of their position in the information network. Their name comes up. They are consulted. They are invited to meetings. Their credibility builds passively. They don't have to shout about their own competence because the network itself is a testament to their value. Other people do the shouting for them. Think about the last major decision made in your company. Who was in the room? The decision makers, yes, but also their trusted sources of information. People who have a reputation for understanding the ground truth. These are the central nodes. Getting into that room is more valuable than a decade of perfect attendance. And you get into that room by making yourself a conduit for valuable information. You share relevant articles. You make introductions between people in different departments who should know each other. You become a broker of insights. This builds a form of visibility that feels earned and authentic. It's a pull strategy, not a push strategy. You are being pulled into important conversations because you are perceived as valuable. The loud salesperson is pushing their narrative. The network hub has a narrative that is created for them by the structure of the organization itself. This is the difference between broadcasting and being broadcast. One is effortful and has a low signal-to-noise ratio. The other is effortless and is pure signal. But this whole system relies on one scarce resource. It's the one thing executives have even less of than money: attention. The higher you go in an organization, the more brutally scarce attention becomes. An executive's mind is a battlefield of competing priorities. For your work, your competence, or your potential to even register, it has to be encoded in a way that is incredibly efficient to process. A 5,000-word report on your success is noise. A 30-second summary from a trusted peer during a coffee break is a signal. A single line in a presentation that highlights your project's impact on the company's bottom line is a high-yield signal. The people who get promoted are master storytellers. They understand that their job is to translate their complex, messy reality into a simple, compelling narrative that an executive can absorb in 30 seconds. They don't sell their competence. They sell a story about their impact. The story of the person who increased lead conversion by 18% is a much better story than the person who is a really skilled and detail-oriented marketing analyst. One is a result, the other is a trait. Organizations promote results. They promote the story of results. You have been focused on refining your skills, which is your character. The visible person has been focused on refining their plot. And in a world of scarce attention, a good plot always wins. They are actively managing their narrative. They ensure the key stakeholders hear the same simple story about their value, repeated through multiple channels. When the promotion meeting happens, their name is the one that comes to mind easily. This is the availability heuristic in action. What is easily recalled is judged to be more important. Their consistent, visible signaling has made them mentally available to the decision makers. You, with your head-down competence, are a footnote, a piece of data that requires effort to retrieve. So what is the actual mechanism? It's called performance support bias. Research from the MIT Sloan School of Management is revealing. When a manager evaluates a team member, their assessment is deeply colored by the amount of support that person provides to the manager. This support can be making them look good in meetings, taking difficult tasks off their plate, or providing clear, concise updates that save them time. Someone who is technically brilliant but requires a lot of management, or makes the manager's life harder, will be rated lower than someone who is less competent but makes the manager more successful. Your performance is judged through the filter of your boss's self-interest. The person who gets promoted is the one who makes their boss's job easiest. And making your boss's job easiest is a function of clear communication, proactive problem solving, and managing upwards. These are all visibility skills. Your technical competence is secondary. It's the entry fee. It gets you into the casino. It doesn't teach you how to play the games. The most tragic part of this entire system is that it's self-reinforcing. People see that visibility, not competence, is rewarded. So, ambitious people optimize for visibility. This starves the organization of deep, focused work. The competent doers become cynical and disengage, or they leave. The people who remain are the ones skilled at playing the game of perception. The organization ends up with leaders who are excellent at managing their own visibility, but may lack the deep operational knowledge to make sound decisions. The whole structure promotes a fragile kind of charisma over resilient competence. You see this in companies that slowly lose their way, that become a collection of impressive-sounding presentations hiding a crumbling foundation. The system selects for the storytellers, and eventually, the story is all that's left. The final uncomfortable truth is this: your competence is your own responsibility, but your visibility is your organization's reality. You've been measuring yourself by the wrong metric. You've been trying to get an A+ in a class where the final grade is determined by a completely different assignment. The work is the prerequisite. It is the thing you must do to have a story to tell. But the work itself is not the product. The product is the clear, compelling, and visible narrative of your impact. The people who get ahead understand this. They spend a percentage of their time not just doing the work, but packaging, framing and delivering the story of the work to the people who matter. They treat communication as a core job function, not as an afterthought. They are directors of their own movie, and they make sure the executives see the trailer. You've been toiling away in the editing bay, perfecting a single frame. The game is won in the marketing department. It's won in the screening room. And it's won by making sure the right audience sees your name in the credits. You don't need to become a loud, self-promoting fraud. You need to become a better translator. You need to translate your complex technical value into the simple language of business impact. Because the system is not designed to find the best person. It's designed to promote the most legible one. Your job was never just to do the work. It was to make the work and its value impossible.